Hi, 2 days in a row. Today, Sandy Shellis, and I am 2 days in a row because again, went out today and had friends take me to lunch. And it was really, really nice. And the reason why I decided to talk about this when I came back was because of a little article that I had read in my perusing of articles from Yale Climate Connections. They have this page, and it's kind of decent, But this one, it's because of the conversations today and because of the fact that today on the television in the morning, or whatever, late morning, my husband and I, before he left, were talking, and he said, well, it's out there. It's finally out there. It's being talked about. And I said, yeah, because he's watched what I've been, learning and going through and talking about for the last couple of years after, 2 to 3 years when I woke up. And it is out there. It is now in the news every day, something about climate change. And it wasn't like that when I started doing this, talking about this or looking for articles. So this one is, how do I break the bad news about climate change? And it's a 6-step guide to be honest, to have honest and compassionate conversations. And Sarah Peach, by Sarah Peach. So she's a peach. Okay. So the letter is actually, it's like a Dear Abby about climate change. And the letter is, Dear Sarah, your column about the woman with the big house, the big beach house in Florida, illustrates the difficulty of an honest conversation. Now, I've done this. We've talked about this before. The impossible conversation, how to have this conversation, or how to slip in about the Arctic at Christmas dinner. I've talked about this. So it's nothing new. It's just another aspect from this article. If we stop burning fossil fuels today, the climate will continue to warm and sea level will continue to rise for decades. And if we don't stop burning fossil fuels soon, the consequences will be far worse and widespread. For example, Charleston, South Carolina, a city at sea level, is planning infrastructure for a 2.5-foot sea level rise. If glacial ice starts to melt as quickly as some models suggest, the sea level rise could be 6 to 7 feet by the end of the century. Charleston would have to be relocated. Even with immediate action, a lot of damage is already done. There's that end of the century. Always creeps in there, doesn't it? So he says, how do we convey the long view to people who don't want to hear in a way that generates action rather than despair? Mark in Charleston. Hi, Basil. Oh. So Basil Peterson has joined us live. All right, so the challenge here is that because you have learned about climate change, you are now in the position to break the bad news to others. So how many here have been doing this for how long? Raise your hands, please, in the audience of all the millions of you that are watching me. It's not easy to inform people that a beloved city may cease to exist in its present form. It's also difficult to respond effectively to the feelings of grief, anger, and denial that such a message provokes. Your question prompted me to think about another group of people who must sometimes deliver bad news, and that's doctors. Doesn't Guy McPherson always say we've gotten a terminal diagnosis? So over the years, doctors have developed step-by-step protocols for informing patients of life-threatening or terminal illness. So one such protocol, known as SPIKES, is designed to help them build the trust of their patients, ensure that patients have an accurate understanding of their diagnosis, and work with them to choose a treatment plan. A person with a life-threatening illness isn't a perfect analog for a city endangered by sea level rise, but each of the protocol's 6 steps offers useful guidance on how to deliver bad news with compassion and humanity. So Let's walk through them. But how? We have nothing to lose, right? I have nowhere to go. It's a snowy afternoon, and I'm alone. So here we go. Number 1, mentally prepare, to deliver the bad news. Imagine you're a doctor with a patient complaining of back pain. She believes she strained a muscle, but after conducting tests, you know that her back is hurting because she has breast cancer. How do you tell her the news? According to Spikes, the first step is to prepare for the conversation. Consider what you will say and how you will respond to an emotional reaction or difficult questions. You have to sort of think about the person who is going to be in front of you. If you know them already, you may have some idea of how they're going to react. Dr. Walter Bailey told me, Sarah, the author, recently. Bailey, director of the Program for Interpersonal Communication and Relationship Enhancement at the University of Texas, MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, helped develop the Spikes protocol. The application to talking about climate change: find out what you can about the people you'll be speaking to. Prepare for the emotions that they may feel when you show them frightening projections or suggest their community may not exist in the future. One point to keep in mind: people who are hostile to the very concept of climate change, they get a lot of attention, but they actually represent only a small fraction of the U.S. public. About 80% of people are either worried about the problem, haven't made up their minds, or don't know much about it, according to my colleagues at the Yale Program on Climate Change Communication. Those groups constitute your most likely audience. Okay, so gives you a bunch of differing scenarios there. Number 2, find out what the person already knows. And this is kind of how I work when I do this, when I do talk about it. In the second step, doctors begin a meeting with the patient by asking open-ended questions. The goal is to determine the patient's existing perception of her illness. What is your understanding of the reason we took a whoa! My goodness, guys. Did I make everybody dizzy? Wait a minute, forgive me. That was a really big faux pas. I really like this. I want to continue reading it. If you're all with me, I didn't fall, the camera did. But let me find the rest of this. Okay, so the second step. What's your understanding? So this step helps doctors identify the patient's mistaken beliefs, if any, and craft a message based on what she already knows. By phone, Bailey added I have to put this up, and I'm not going to knock this over again, I promise. Okay, what patients really value is being treated as people, not just as patients, he said. When they feel you are considerate of their personhood, so to speak, and their well-being, that helps instill trust. This step is also important for conversations about climate change. Rather than barraging people with scientific facts or arguments about why you are correct, first ask them the questions. How long have you lived in whatever city, Charleston? What is your favorite thing to do in the city? Have you noticed more flooding around the city? What have you heard about the causes of that flooding? I've done that when I've talked to my Amish neighbors about what they've seen and how they live. Basil, oh, wait, no, I don't want to knock this over, but let's see. Basil says, I'm preparing to visit my son and 4 grandkids, aged 2 to 13, in Alexandria, Virginia. They use more resources as a family than a small village in Sumatran Africa. Oh, my gosh. They are incapable of change. I'm sorry. I think a lot of people are. But that's why we're here. The little things of information that we can try, that we can try to give them. So 3, seek an invitation to, oh God, I keep doing this. Oh, forgive me. Maybe I better go back in my office, but I want to sit here. Oh, Lord. Perhaps I need a hit of this before I go. Listen, guys, you have to laugh with me. If I'm taking you on a crooked ride, you've got to laugh with me. Because, the art of doing this shit is no art when you're like a Luddite like me. So give me a break, and then we're going to go to number 3. There you go. Like I said, it's the only game I got in town. Okay, so let's finish before I make everybody dizzy again. And I don't have the skills to edit all that out. So seek an invitation to provide information. So you're talking to these, somebody, and you've already gone through 2 things. You've gone through mentally preparing to deliver the bad news, and then find out what the other person already knows. So then you seek that invitation to provide information. So during the next step, doctors ask for consent from the patient to share the facts about their illness. Nearly all patients, according to surveys conducted in Europe and the US, patients want to be told the truth about their conditions, usually so that they can effectively plan for the future. But some people may find the information too difficult to hear. And those who reach an advanced state of illness may prefer not to be told all of the details. The lesson for talking about climate change in conversations with others: don't shy away from mentioning your concern about climate change, but talk about it in a way that invites the other person to ask questions. So the friend, what you been up to lately? You, hey, I wrote a letter to the editor about sea level rise and it got published in the newspaper. Friend, wow, that's great, but it's so depressing. What did you write about? And then there's an open, And so that just segues into number 4, which is share what you know. Now, a doctor will share what he or she has learned about the patient's illness. I'm sorry to tell you that when we took the tissue sample, we found that you have breast cancer. The protocol contains 2 pieces of advice relevant to people talking about climate change. First, avoid jargon. Say human-caused, not anthropogenic, and so on, because you know that half the people you're going to talk to out there in this, they don't know the word anthropogenic. That's like in a later stage of talking. Second, choose your words carefully to avoid unintended cruelty. For example, the protocol advises doctors not to say, "You have very bad cancer, and unless you get treatment immediately, you're going to die." Such a statement is absurdly blunt and clearly has no place in a doctor's office, but it also bears an uncomfortable resemblance to messages we often hear about climate change, and we all talk about that all the time, don't we? We're bad in the doomosphere. We're terrible at that. So, quote, "We must cease greenhouse gas emissions as soon as possible, or there will be catastrophic consequences." Now, either one may leave the listener feeling angry and apt to blame the messenger. So don't be hysterical. Try using more compassionate language like, "The climate problem's serious, and that's why it's so important for all of us to work on a plan to address it." You might also add that there's still time to avoid the most dangerous consequences. Yeah, you don't want to be like throwing them in the doomosphere and just telling them that WASF. We don't want to just like throw people into that. I've done it, and it's kind of backfired. Hi, Ed. Celebrate doom times. Come on, celebrate the doomosphere. Well, I do, because I've met so many wonderful people through the doomosphere. All right, number 5. Let's go. Address emotions. Responding to the patient's emotions is one of the most difficult challenges of breaking bad news, the protocol says. Patients' emotional reactions may vary from silence to disbelief, crying, denial, or anger. Like breaking bad medical news, sharing frightening information about climate change is likely to provoke an emotional reaction. You can address these emotions by acknowledging their presence, giving people space to express them, and offering validating or empathetic responses. The ocean could rise by as much as 6 feet during the lifetime of our kids. Unfortunately, if that happens, a lot of Charleston will either go underwater or have frequent flooding problems. And then the friend says, "That's horrible to think about." And then you say, "Well, it's hard for me too. I wish I had better news to share." By acknowledging and validating others' emotions, you can help them remember that their reaction is normal and they are not alone. People are frightened and they're confused at times, and what they really appreciate is kindness, Bale had said. And number 6, make a plan. Whether you're breaking bad news about cancer or climate, the last and most important step to work with the other person to come up with a plan. Now, at this stage, doctors discuss treatment options with patients, right? The goal is to decide together with the patient on a plan that aligns with the patient's values. For example, some patients may not wish to pursue aggressive treatment if the likelihood of success is poor and the side effects are severe. When you talk with people about climate change, it's similarly important to discuss what can be done to address the problem, seeking a plan of action that aligns with the person's values. Friend, I feel so worried about what will happen to my son. I worry a lot about my kids too. I usually feel better when I do something with that feeling, like going to talk to city planners about the problem. Would you be interested in coming with me the next time I go speak with them? Your son would be welcome to come along. And I guess that's a person that's, active. That's an activist. That's a person that's doing stuff. Is this all crooked? I guess it doesn't matter at this point. I'm crooked. Anyway. So the end of the article goes to bonus advice. When she says she spoke to Dr. Bailey, he offered a final piece of advice that wasn't in his original protocol. Doctors, he said, often empower family members to become allies of the patient. Family members can take small but effective actions, such as helping the patient get plenty of rest. The same strategy, he said, can be used to people who are speaking up about climate change. Find out who your allies are. He said, one person's voice may be ignored, but a chorus of warnings, especially from those well known to and trusted by the listener, is harder to dismiss. That was pretty cool. I'll put the link in there. I thought that was nice. It was tame, but you know what? It did give some decent advice on having that impossible conversation, because Dean wrote the book, and I'll put the link in about that book, The Impossible Conversation, and I'll put this link in. But, you're here with me, so we've had this conversation, or we've tried to have this conversation with people. Physius, hi, Phosphorus 72, life's, he's saying hello, wait. He's saying hello to Sandy on the thing over and over again. Who is? Hello. I'm sorry, but you've got to understand. Now, what does it say? For God's sake, please say hello to Tiki or he'll never stop. I'm sorry, but you got to understand, okay, this is the iPhone, and I am not technologically wonderful. If someone wants to help me to figure out how to do this on YouTube with my Mac Pro, then write to me, help me, because I don't know how to do this. You have to have some kind of ancillary software and a key, and it doesn't work for me. So I do this for YouTube on my phone. Facebook, I can do it right on my MacBook in the office with no problem. But I seem to have a better connection when I do it to YouTube on the phone, even with my rural, shitty, wireless, zapping me through the brain connection. So anyway, thanks for coming. Anybody? I'm so sorry. Let me see. I'll do this. And oh, look, it's snowing. Breaking the news to people about this is difficult. Not on part of the part of the speaker, but because most people are caught up in their business and distractions. Of course, that's all the time. That's why last year, I talked about going to Christmas dinner. And I'm going to show you outside. Going to Christmas dinner and or whatever dinner you go to, and possibly talking with family members, but really really easily and bring up, I want to talk about bringing up the Arctic ice, All right, let's look. See, we're supposed to get 13 inches of snow. Can you see? I don't know if you can see outside, but we're supposed to get 13 inches of snow. And I'm not ready. There's still stuff outside, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't put it away. Well, thanks for joining me. Anybody else want to comment? And really, I'm so sorry for not seeing this. Not seeing all the comments. I'll see them later. Let me see. Marcia says, oh, okay. Marcia says evacuees from Paradise are being told the truth about rebuilding by Jerry Brown. Nope. Climate change. This keeps happening. See, I lose it. Climate change demands that we do things differently and Paradise can't be rebuilt. No, I keep thinking they cannot rebuild like that. There's going to be a climate migration from California. I mean, there's just going to be. How can you just move back to that same place? How can you do that? I don't know. I don't know what the insurance companies are going to do either. But I'm starting to fiddle, and when I start to fiddle, you guys know that that's when my back has had enough. So if you have some comments, let me fix this thing again. Thank you for being so wonderful about my shitty skills today with this thing. Making you dizzy, dropping it twice. I'm all right reading this thing. Okay, if I can see any comments, I will, without you seeing my hands. There's got to be a better way. Oh, it's hi, Vegematic. It's snowing up there where you are in Canada. And Phosphorus says the Arctic ice is really the major problem. A lot else matters if that goes. Nothing else matters. It's game over. Well, we know. And I talk about it with people. And hi, Kendra. Wait. Kendra, we are getting snow now also, but it's turning to rain. Okay, just be careful, everybody out there, when you go anywhere, wherever you are in the world. Ed says, people rebuild on barrier islands. They'll go back to Paradise because that's where their lives are. We understand that, but are they going to be having enough money to build resilient? And can you build fire resilience, really? I'm on a couple of websites. I've looked at the California Chaparral website and the Cal Fire website and some other websites because I want to be educated in how fires jump and, so that when people come on and make comments about I can say, hey, listen, this is really what's happening. It's not directed energy weapons. Sorry. That's a diversion. Now I open that can of worms. Everybody have a great day, the rest of your evening or rest of whatever it is. Thank you for being with me. We must have these conversations. We really do have to have these conversations, as difficult as they are. And I think that little article gave a few little nifty ideas of how to do it. And thank you, everybody, for coming. And I love you all, too, because you guys are really, sometimes it's as pathetic as it is. And I don't even know all of you in real life, but it's a reason to get up in the morning. So... and I don't want to lose it. Peace, guys. Good night.